Edie, I'd start with you because we're starting with Liverpool at Old Trafford, your old club. It wasn't exactly a sparkling performance, given that everything seemed to go their way. Matic injured before the match, Herrera and Mata injured before half-time, Lingard injured before half-time, no subs left, and yet Liverpool didn't have one shot on target in 90 minutes.
Yeah, it wasn't the vintage performance we've seen from Liverpool in the first half of the season, but I think it's been a theme for the last few weeks. You know, they drew 3 games now. They were very fortunate to beat Crystal Palace at home, where the goalkeeper Speroni helped them a couple of times, and they couldn't break Bayern Munich down, who played ever so well at Anfield defensively. And they seem to have lost that spark going forward. You know, that fluency, that fluidity.
Yes.
You know, not thinking about things and just doing things by instinct. Maybe it's the situation they're in now to be able to win that league for the first time in 29 or 30 years. I don't know, but it's certainly not that the team they were in the first half of the season. Salah seems to be off colour. He hasn't got the moments. Very rarely he's got moments in a game where he really surprises the opposition. And I'd say that the positive is the defensive performance, because they still don't concede many goals.
Yeah.
But the lack of goals going forward is certainly a concern.
Yeah, John, you said when we talked on Friday on the podcast that you thought a draw was the likeliest outcome. But when you factor in what we didn't know then, this is Matic, Herrera, Mata being out, and Rashford limping for an hour. If you'd have seen that scenario on Friday, you'd say this is a real opportunity for Liverpool, and an opportunity missed as it happened.
Oh, I think there's no doubt about that, Eamon. I mean, as you say, if we knew the circumstances before the match, you'd put a bet, you would put a heavy bet on Liverpool winning. They didn't play, Eamon, you know, like the fact is they didn't play well enough on the day to beat Manchester United. In fact, they hardly made any chances. And as Didi said there, like the 3 players that were doing the big stuff for them over the last 12 months or so, or longer, Salah and the lads up front, particularly Salah, not firing, Eamon.
No.
I know Firmino got injured, but they're not firing, you know. And I don't think it did Salah's any confidence any good, which he's done before, Klopp, taking him off, Eamon. You know, it's 10, 15 minutes to go,
yeah,
and putting, I think, Origi on. I can't see that. I know he wasn't playing Salah, but he's always liable to do something at any given time, and can redeem his match on the day. So he didn't don't get an opportunity to do that. And we all know as players, Eamon, nobody likes to be subbed.
No.
And particularly a player like Salah, you know, you could see him coming off the pitch, and Henderson.
Yeah. Henderson
not pleased about the situation.
Henderson was subbed in the 72nd minute, almost 20 minutes to go, and he looked really angry. He ran right past Klopp, and there was an exchange between them. And I thought, and I'd like your opinion and Didi's, I thought Henderson played really well against Bayern Munich, and I thought yesterday even he was the one driving them or trying to drive them forward, and it didn't seem sensible to me to take him off.
No, and he wasn't pleased, Eamon. As I said before, you know, as ex-players, nobody likes to be substituted. He hated it. It's a humiliation, actually. And I think the least I know the manager has to make substitutions at times, but it has to make sense. I don't think the Henderson thing made sense. I don't think Salah made sense. So you're upsetting players.
Yeah.
I think when you do that, and I think it's like going on a wing and a prayer. Like I'll take him off, put him on. Without I couldn't see any real sense behind it. And I think going from that match into the next match, it doesn't do the morale of the team any good. So it's not good management, to say the least, I don't think.
Didi, your opinion on that? And also, I wonder about when Firmino came off after half an hour, he puts Daniel Sturridge on. Sturridge looks to me, I know he scored a wonder goal at Chelsea a few months ago, but he contributes zip.
Well, I think that's the story. I think the fact that he's been at the Brit Awards presenting an award last week in a crucial stage of the season. I think says it all. Where his
who was there? Who was at the Brit Awards?
Sturridge was presenting an award last week.
Okay.
Because I think Dele Alli pulled out, and he presented an award at the Brit Awards, and I think in a crucial stage of the season, you know, the message it sends out to the team, to the fans, and then you bring him on after half an hour. You know, Origi must be kicking himself, because I think he did okay when he came on against Bayern Munich the other day. He's a threat. He's a physical player. And I think it's sometimes when things don't go well, he's the type of player they need, because sometimes you need to go long and try to pick up the pieces, play for the second balls.
Yes.
So I'm not too surprised at the Sturridge performance yesterday, because I think it's been in a scheme. He's always capable of moments of brilliance, but it's just not enough. Coming back to Henderson, I didn't understand it as well, because Henderson is still the captain of that team.
Yeah.
He took that role really well, because he wasn't always in the starting 11. When he had an injury, came back, and other players were preferred. And I think he's always been a team player. He was always there for the team. He was probably the stand-up performer, the driving force against Bayern Munich. So I think he had every right, when he does play well, as he did yesterday again, to be angry and disappointed when he has to come off again after 20 minutes when it's a crucial game and you're the captain of the team. So I didn't really get that substitution too.
Yeah, John, just to go back to Mo Salah and also to Mane, who I thought was very poor yesterday. Now, Mane has scored in each of their 4 previous Premier League games. I thought the occasion, and I think the circumstances they're in, I don't like to say it, but it looks to me as if it's getting to Salah a little bit and it's getting to Mane a little bit. They're sort of trying to force things. The other thing I'd ask you about yesterday, both of you actually, but you first, John. I think Manchester United, despite what happened to them with the injuries to really important players, they defended deep and they defended really, really well. At times, even Rashford was getting behind the ball. There was a wall of red shirts, and that doesn't suit Liverpool. They prefer themselves to be a counter-attacking team. In other words, I think as well as Liverpool not performing, I thought Solskjaer tactically got it spot on.
Well, probably, but he had to get it spot on. Well, not that he had to get it spot on, but the circumstances demanded that Manchester United do what they do.
Yeah.
They had to drop off because they didn't have the defenders, didn't have the players, Eamon. You know, they had Lukaku out in the right wing to stop Robertson. So obviously they went very, very defensive, and quite rightly as well. But I don't think he would have done that had he had the players on the pitch early on, which would have been worse for Liverpool, actually, because they would have had a chance to score.
Pick up on a point you made there, John, and it's an interesting point. I think they played Lukaku in that position wide right, partially with the idea of stopping Robertson's surges, which Robertson surging down the left flank is one of Liverpool's great sort of attacking options, and it was non-existent yesterday.
Well, they didn't play well enough even to set him free, but they did put Lukaku out in the right end. But you're talking about Solskjaer's tactics. I mean, he had to go defensive. I mean, Rashford could hardly run. The 3 players were off, you know, with injuries. Lukaku goes out in the right wing. So Liverpool then had to break them down. And I take the point you're making that Liverpool are at the best at the counter-attacking, whereas they had most of the ball last night, and they didn't have the wit and the players to take them on to really do it. But that's down to Liverpool, you know. Like they have Mane and they have Salah and Firmino as well, but you would expect more from them, Eamon, to do it. You know, I mean, they hardly had a shot in goals, and United did defend well. They had to defend well, but Liverpool were the cause of their own bad play yesterday, as well as Manchester United's good play.
Yeah, Didi, we have to give Manchester United a hell of a lot of credit for the way they dug in. In other words, you lose 3 guys. You lose Matic before the start, then you lose Herrera, then you lose Mata, then Rashford is injured, then you lose Lingard. A lot of teams would take that, and maybe under Mourinho, United might have taken that as a good excuse to pull up. But they didn't. They dug in.
No, 100%. And I think yesterday they showed how far they've come on the Solskjaer. Usually stick together and doing everything for your team should be taken for granted. But in this day and age, sometimes players and teams get for it, and that's what Solskjaer has done. Yesterday they showed that they are united. They haven't been United or Manchester United for a long time under Mourinho. And yesterday, when you said there with Matic, then you have 3 players coming off in the first half. You've got 1 player who's struggling. This is when you have to pull together and when you see the character of the players. And I think without a shadow of a doubt, I think they're still unbeaten in the league under Solskjaer. They showed yesterday what a good team they can be. Obviously, going forward, they need to improve. But the basics they've got right now, they didn't have the basics for a long time.
Yes,
probably since Ferguson left. Hence, you don't get results. It doesn't matter how good a player you are. I don't know how much individual quality you've got in a team. If you don't pull together, if you don't defend well, if you don't work for your teammates, if you don't help each other, it counts for nothing. And yesterday they showed it was a perfect example how united they are again, thanks to Solskjaer. And they had to, because they played against a formidable team that's maybe not at the best at the moment. But still, I think it was a gallant effort under the circumstances.
John, what about the belief that's quite widely shared now that over the past few weeks, the pressure is beginning to get to Liverpool? They're beginning to understand, I think there's 11 games to go now, that they have a real chance, their favourites' chance, and that's having an effect. The other suggestion also was made by Graham Souness on Sky yesterday. He said they lack the guile in midfield to carve out little openings, to play Mane and Salah in. Now, I think when Firmino provides that guile, really, but they didn't have that, and they've never really had it, had they?
No, well, I think Firmino has improved, Damon. I didn't like him at all when he first came in the team. He didn't seem to handle, but he's got a bit about him. He's come on. He's played better. I think he did. It's just an overall thing with Liverpool. Obviously, we're not going to be creating chances. Then you're not going to get any goals. It was just they were just flat, and with United playing as deep as they could, they didn't have the answer to it.
Yeah.
And you would have expected more from Mane, Salah in particular, players who can do the individual stuff. It just didn't happen. Salah hasn't played well this season as he has before. I think taking him off wouldn't help him, and he took him off early on in the season. Didn't help him. So it's an overall thing. You have to give Man United well for defending what they do, but you'd have to be disappointed in Liverpool in the circumstances that happened, where the players, as you quite rightly mentioned, were injured and couldn't and didn't, and for different reasons, take advantage of it. It goes back to Klopp. All this pressure stuff. It's a long time to go to be feeling the pressure now. Usually it's the last 3 or 4 matches of the season where you have to win, where there's real pressure. I think Klopp is not handling the pressure. That's my feeling on it.
Yeah,
I don't think he's handling the pressure well.
Right,
he's the leader.
Yeah, Didi, you were at the Bayern game at Anfield on Tuesday night. What was your sense of the atmosphere around the place in terms of this pressure to sort of end a 29-year wait for a club like Liverpool? That's an age. What was your sense about the mood?
Well, before the game, I had a feeling, even when You'll Never Walk Alone was sang, it was very subdued. I think it's a combination of maybe a little bit too much confidence in a way, that people think, well, we've got a good team. Bayern Munich is struggling at the moment. We're going to put 2 or 3 past them. And then I think there's a sense of fear as well, because for the first time, they've been finalists last year. They brought in 3, 4 very good players in the summer. So I think it's you can say that they're better equipped this season than they were last season, where they did go to the Champions League final. And also fear of losing something, because it's a different mindset. If you're chasing somebody, if you try to knock somebody off their perch, or if you're ahead. And they had a 6 or 7 point lead. It's down to 1 now. And, for the first time, they probably think we've got something to lose here because 4-6 weeks ago, people or most people in the country would have made them favourites. And they said, the way they're playing, they're very hard to stop. So I think psychologically it's a different challenge now for their team. And in the past, they had a few chances under Klopp. They didn't handle it too well. They've lost 3 finals under him already.
Yes.
And this is a big test now. And if the top players are not performing, obviously it is a concern. But what John just said about the manager, I think he said after the West Ham game where they scored an offside goal and had a chance in the last minute there was offside, and he still had to go to the referee. Yesterday he said our rhythm was broke because there were so many stoppages and so many substitutions. Now, if you tell me I'm going to Old Trafford and they have to take 3 players off in the first half, and 1 player is struggling, hardly able to run,
and Matic wasn't playing.
And Matic wasn't playing. Now, if you offer me that before, obviously you don't want players to get injured, but if you say they have to make 3 substitutions in the first half, you take it. Hence, he spins it around and he said, our rhythm was broke and we never got it back in the game because there were too many stoppages. So these are quotes and things he said after games in recent weeks, which I didn't get, I didn't like. And maybe what John just said, maybe he's got a point there.
Yeah. Well, I just come in on that. I've seen he's made a very good remark. I was only reading the paper this morning. Actually, he made a minus of a plus.
Yes.
He made a minus. I mean, what the players taken off should be the 3 players taken off in the match. And Matt is not playing.
Yeah.
Is a plus for you. Should be a plus for. He's turning around that it upset the rhythm.
Yeah.
It was a minus. You know what I mean? And that's not. And in West Ham, he blew up with the referee after and made some stupid comments as well. That's a sign. If you're looking for signs of pressure on the pitch,
right,
you see it for players and they become a bit legless in that. When you see the sign of pressure on the manager, it's saying the things that he's saying.
Okay. Didi, just one point. He has history in Germany with Mainz and with Dortmund. Yes, he won things, but a couple of times he blew things as well.
But I don't think you can argue with his record. Mainz, he took over a team, a mediocre team, and he did a fantastic job, which gave him the opportunity to go to Dortmund. He did wonderful things there, won the league, won the cup, took them to a Champions League final arguably with a very good team, you've got to say. But at Liverpool, he's lost 3 finals, and they probably could or should have won all 3 of them.
Yeah.
Now, this will be in the back of his mind. A lot of these players would have been there losing at least 1 final last year, and maybe 1 or 2 of the others. And the thing with him is he's a very emotional guy, and I think that passion he transfers onto the players, onto the fans, is a fantastic thing when things go well. But when things don't go well, I think you need a sense of you need a cool head. You need to take a step back. And sometimes you have to be a little bit more pragmatic. So I think all the things going for him, when things go well, can go against him because you have to have your emotions under control. He didn't have to have them under control in the last 18 months because it was the only way they were going was up.
Yeah.
Now is the first time there's a little bit of a setback. It remains to be seen how well he handles it and how well he'll have his emotions under control, because if you need one person to calm things down, it should be the manager. You can't expect the players to do it if the manager can't do it. And it's an interesting few weeks now for Liverpool.
Yeah, John, just a final point on this.
I just say that I think that's a really excellent summing up by Didi there.
Yeah, it's you've been there so many times at Leeds in this position at this time of the season. Is what Didi said there? That most of all the senior players in the dressing room, but most of all the coach has to be calm.
Yeah. And he has to lead. When he's leading, he has to be cool. He has under the different. It's all different circumstances in the run in now.
Yeah.
You win easily, no problem. You get a draw, you should win, no problem. But you get a couple of situations like Liverpool, West Ham, and yesterday. The manager then, you see why he's demeanour and how he's leading. You have to take it in your stride. Be cool about it. Yep. 13 matches to go. That's a long, long time. And my experience, anyway, quite honest, any time we were going for anything at Leeds with 13 matches to go, didn't feel any pressure at all.
Yeah. One game at a time.
One game at a time. But then, obviously, when you're getting near the end, there's 2 or 3 matches and you have to do it. Of course, there's more and more pressure on them. But not at this stage.
Right.
I mean, there's always pressure, as you know, in the football. There's always pressure, whether you're up at the league, middle of the league, top of the league, bottom of the league, there's pressure in matches. But, you have to handle those particular situations, whatever it is. But certainly talking about pressure with 12, 13 matches to go is a bad sign.
OK, Didi, pluses for Liverpool yesterday. Fabinho, I think, really played, and he played really well also against Bayern Munich. And Joel Matip, I thought was outstanding again yesterday. Confident with the ball and defended quite well. So there's 2 new players really, or players who aren't, should we say, guaranteed to start if all players are fit. That's a plus.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Fabinho didn't feature in the first few weeks of the season. I think he's really come into his own. He's a physical player. The game, the way he's played in England in the Premier League should suit him, and he shows it now. He's very good in the air. He's a decent passer of the ball, and he's a ball winner. And that's, I always felt they needed that holding midfielder, that defensive midfielder. And Matip, he's done well. He wasn't really tested against Bayern Munich. What he did have to deal with, he did. And then I think it helps having Van Dijk back, because I think he's a player who makes all the other players better. I think that, we talked about Liverpool in the last few years, what a threat they are, and maybe but the best strike force in Europe or the world. Yeah. Now I think that the thing they've got going for them in the run into the title is their defence, because they've got an excellent keeper. In Van Dijk, they've probably got the best centre-back in the world at the moment.
Yes.
And they don't seem to give many chances away. So, I think that the big thing going for them, compared to Manchester City, because it looks a 2-horse race now, is their defence.
Okay.